Finally, leaving Las Vegas.
Once upon a time, Las Vegas was the American dream in neon. The air buzzed with excitement, the buffets overflowed with food, and a $5 steak could buy you a taste of luxury. Back then, the city was alive with promise, a place where fortune and fun felt within reach for everyone. But step into Vegas today, and that dream feels hollow. A cocktail now costs $25 more than in London, while the same workers who once served those drinks are sleeping in tents under 115-degree heat. Streets once packed with laughter now echo with silence. The casinos still shine, but behind that glow lies a darkness money can't hide. What happened to the city that once promised endless chances? How did Sin City turn into a symbol of corporate greed and social decay? A mirror reflecting what's going wrong with all of America. Because beneath the flashing lights, something has broken. And tonight, we're going to expose the truth Vegas doesn't want you to see. A truth about greed, illusion, and the price every ordinary person is now paying. If you thought the worst part of Vegas was losing a bet, think again. Let's start with the first illusion, the everyday traps that bleed you dry before you even roll the dice. Once upon a time, Las Vegas was famous for giving more than it took. Free parking, free drinks, cheap buffets. The house made its money at the tables, not by nickel and diming guests. Today, that generosity has been replaced with a cold business model designed to squeeze every last cent. Take resort fees. They began as a way to bundle amenities. Now they're a tax on existence. You can book a room for $79, only to discover a $52 daily fee waiting at checkout. That's not an add-on, it's a betrayal. Visitors describe it best. No hidden costs back then, just state tax on the bill. Then there's parking. In the old days, even the fanciest casinos welcomed you with free lots. Now you pay just to show up. $25 a night to park under a fluorescent light while your money vanishes faster than a spin at the slots. As one local put it, they're charging us for the privilege of losing. And food? It's no longer part of the charm. It's part of the hustle. The $5 steak has become a $75 premium cut. The $1 beers have morphed into $25 cocktails. Even London, one of the most expensive cities on earth, feels cheaper. As a British tourist wrote, even in London you can get a cocktail for £12 in a decent hotel. What happened to Vegas? But here's the cruel twist. Tourists are not the only ones paying the price. The workers behind those overpriced buffets are also drowning. Bartenders, servers, and cleaners see their wages frozen while costs soar. They serve drinks they can't afford and clean rooms they'll never stay in. And still, the city insists that business is booming. The illusion is kept alive through marketing videos and fireworks distractions that mask a slow-burning collapse. Because every time Vegas finds a new way to charge more, it loses a piece of what made it special. The city that once celebrated value now worships volume, of cash, not joy. This is the first stage of Vegas's downfall, the surface greed wrapped in neon smiles. The kind of greed that convinces you to laugh while you're being robbed. But if you think paying for water, parking, and air conditioning is outrageous, wait until you see what they've done to the very games that built this city. Because the next betrayal isn't about money leaving your wallet, it's about the odds turning silently against you. And in a place built on chance, that kind of manipulation doesn't just break trust, it breaks the illusion that Vegas ever cared whether you won or lost. The greatest illusion in Vegas was never the magic show. It was the promise that everyone had a fair shot. Win or lose, at least the game itself was honest. That unspoken contract between gambler and casino was sacred, but that's gone now. What replaced it isn't entertainment, it's quiet manipulation. Let's start with the blackback tables. Remember when a natural 21 paid 3 to 2? Not anymore. Many casinos now pay only 6 to 5, cutting your winnings by almost 20%. It sounds small, but over time, it drains players faster than any losing streak ever could. And the cruel part? Most players don't even notice until they've already lost. Then there's the slot machines. They used to be simple. Pull a lever, match the symbols, maybe hit a jackpot. Now they're engineered with complex algorithms designed to simulate near wins, keeping you trapped in a loop of false hope. Each spin feels like you're almost there, but in truth, the odds are mathematically calibrated to keep you chasing ghosts. Casinos will tell you it's just enhanced entertainment, but what they've really done is turn psychology into profit. Behavioral scientists call it the illusion of control. The idea that you're making choices that matter, when in fact, every button press is just another data point in a system built to make you lose. Even the slot floor has changed. Once a noisy, thrilling jungle of bells and lights, it now hums with tension. Cameras track your every movement, while loyalty cards collect every spin, every bet, every drink. They know who you are, what you play, and how to keep you playing. Vegas no longer studies luck, it studies you. And yet, even as players lose faith, the corporations celebrate record profits. The city still glitters, but the excitement feels mechanical. What used to be human dealers with smiles, pit bosses who knew your name, has been replaced by kiosks and screens. Vegas isn't a stage anymore, it's a factory. One viewer said it perfectly. All these people had lives and homes once. Now, no one is safe. Technology, as wonderful as it is slowly destroying lives. Those words weren't meant for slot machines, but they fit perfectly. Because the same corporate greed that rigs the odds at the tables is now reshaping the lives of the people who keep this city running. The betrayal isn't just in the games, it's in the system itself. The more the casinos automate, the more they replace people with machines, the fewer paychecks go home to real families. Vegas once gave ordinary people steady jobs and steady hope. Now, both are vanishing, one self-checkout, one layoff at a time. So yes, the game is rigged, but not just for the gambler. It's rigged for everyone who depends on this city to survive. And if you think the tables are unfair, wait until you see what's happening outside the casinos, where the same workers who built this empire are now struggling just to stay alive. Because the real house always wins, and in Vegas, that house isn't made of cards, it's built on broken promises. Every empire falls the same way. First with pride, then with hunger, and finally with silence. Las Vegas is no different. The cracks that began in casino walls have now spread into the lives of the people who once powered this city. The very system that promised prosperity is now feeding on its own workers, one paycheck at a time. It started slowly, a few layoffs here, a few restructurings there. Then came automation. Machines that never sleep replaced dealers who used to smile. Kiosks replaced clerks, and apps replaced the warmth of human service. Executives celebrated efficiency, but for thousands of employees, it meant eviction notices, food lines, and shattered dignity. MGM's latest wave of cuts wasn't just a business decision, it was a warning. A warning that Vegas's economic heart, once beating with opportunity, is now suffocating under its own greed. The irony? The same corporations that laid off workers are posting record quarterly profits. They call it optimization. Locals call it betrayal. And the domino effect is brutal. When jobs disappear, bills don't. Rent keeps climbing. Groceries rise. Gas surges. Families that once dreamed of home ownership now live week to week in motels or in their cars. Many are still employed, working 40 hours a week but can't afford a roof over their heads. The working homeless is no longer a rare phrase. It's the new Vegas reality. One commenter said it best. They serve drinks they can't afford and clean rooms they'll never sleep in. That line captures everything wrong with this city's moral economy. The lights that once symbolized hope now burn brighter than the futures of the people keeping them on. And when the working class begins to break, the ripple spreads fast. Homeless encampments multiply near tourist corridors. Veterans sleep under bridges within sight of billion-dollar resorts. Children grow up hearing the sound of slot machines instead of school bells. It's a haunting juxtaposition, one that even Vegas can't glamorize anymore. But instead of facing the problem, the city hides it. Crackdowns, cleanups, and PR campaigns paint the illusion of control. Tents are bulldozed before sunrise, as if suffering could be erased by daylight. Yet the cycle never ends, it only relocates. Sweep after sweep, the problem reappears. A little farther from the Strip, but a little closer to home. This is what happens when an economy built on illusion begins to turn on itself. Vegas can no longer tell where the casino ends and real life begins. The same logic that rigs blackjack odds now governs housing, labor, and survival. And here's the chilling truth. The city doesn't collapse all at once. It starves piece by piece. Not from lack of tourists, but from lack of compassion. Not from losing money, but from losing meaning. But if you think the collapse of jobs and dignity is the lowest point, it isn't. Because what's coming next isn't just economic decay, it's psychological collapse. When the mind breaks, the city follows. If you want to see what despair looks like, don't look at the empty casinos. Look into the eyes of the people sitting beneath them. Behind the neon glow, Vegas hides a silent epidemic. It's not just poverty, not just homelessness. It's the slow, invisible breaking of the human spirit. Walk one block off the Strip and you'll see it. A man sitting motionless on the sidewalk, his eyes vacant, his skin burnt from the desert sun. He's not begging, not even moving. He's simply gone. A body still breathing in a city that has stopped caring. This is what the collapse of mental health looks like when the city of pleasure forgets how to feel. Nevada ranks near the bottom in America for mental health access, yet near the top in despair. Counseling programs are underfunded, shelters overwhelmed, and waiting lists stretch for months. For thousands, there's nowhere to turn but the streets, and from there, the descent is fast. Trauma turns into addiction. Addiction turns into survival. Survival turns into silence. Volunteers from local nonprofits tell the same story. It's not laziness, it's exhaustion. People aren't refusing help, they're trapped in a system where help no longer exists. As one volunteer told me, we're fighting a desert with water bottles. It's compassion versus concrete, and concrete is winning. Vegas markets itself as a city of joy, but it's built on an economy of escape. Tourists drink to forget. Residents gamble to feel alive. Workers numb themselves just to get through another double shift. Addiction isn't the fringe of Vegas, it is Vegas, reflected back at itself. The city that sells you a high can't understand why people overdose on hopelessness. And yet, the mental breakdown isn't confined to the homeless. It's spreading among those still inside the system. The cashiers, dealers, security guards, taxi drivers, people trying to hold on while the ground keeps shifting. Therapists call it collective burnout. Locals call it losing your soul. The cruelest irony? Vegas spends millions on light shows, fireworks, and influencer campaigns. Anything to keep the illusion of happiness alive. But happiness can't be manufactured when despair is the city's true export. The Strip still shines, but that shine comes at the cost of thousands of dimmed minds. And when the mind breaks, chaos follows. Police data shows an increase in violent encounters around homeless encampments, but these aren't hardened criminals, they're people unraveling. Tourists stumble into these zones by accident, film the chaos, and post it online. Each viral video erodes what little dignity the city has left. The world laughs, Vegas quietly bleeds. One viewer summed it up: greed destroys everything and everyone. Those words ring true far beyond the casinos, because the real gamble isn't at the blackjack table, it's in the minds of the people trying to survive a city that no longer feels human. And if you think despair is Vegas's darkest secret, you haven't felt the heat yet. Because the desert doesn't forgive weakness, and the next chapter of this story isn't just mental collapse, it's the brutal reality of what happens when survival meets the Mojave sun. In most cities, summer is a season. In Las Vegas, it's a threat. The Mojave doesn't forgive the weak, and every year, the heat claims new lives, quietly, anonymously, under the same sun that powers the Strip's glow. By mid-July, the asphalt can reach 150 degrees. The air itself shimmers like glass. While tourists float in rooftop pools and order $20 margaritas, just blocks away, people sleep on baking concrete, clinging to scraps of shade that vanish by noon. Hospitals call it heat-related illness. Locals call it what it is: slow death. Emergency crews find the same scenes, again and again. People unconscious in alleyways, plastic bottles melted beside them, shoes stuck to the pavement. Yet these stories never make the headlines. Why? Because Las Vegas doesn't sell tragedy. It sells the illusion that everything is under control. Many of the city's homeless have moved underground, literally. Beneath the casinos lies a labyrinth of storm drains, tunnels carved to catch desert floods. They've become makeshift shelters, dark and damp, but cooler than the inferno above. The irony? The city that boasts about underground nightlife hides a second one it refuses to acknowledge, the one where survival depends on staying invisible. Climate change is turning that invisibility into a death sentence. Heat waves now arrive earlier, last longer, and push deeper into the calendar. The desert is expanding, swallowing the outskirts where cheap housing used to stand. Scientists call it a regional warming trend. Residents call it unlivable. One outreach worker put it bluntly: "We're fighting the desert with plastic bottles." Volunteers deliver water, fans, and wet towels, tiny gestures against a monstrous force. Meanwhile, casinos blast cold air 24 hours a day, using enough electricity to cool a small country. The contrast is obscene. And as if the heat weren't enough, there's another fire burning, the one inside. Addiction has become the second climate of Las Vegas, a different kind of heat that consumes from within. For many, a cheap bottle of liquor or a hit of meth is the only anesthetic they can afford. It dulls the hunger, quiets the fear, and for a few hours, turns the chaos into silence. But addiction doesn't end suffering, it multiplies it. Overdose calls have doubled in Clark County since 2020. Meth and fentanyl aren't just drugs here, they're coping mechanisms for a population trapped between the heat above and the despair below. And the city's answer? More policing, more sweeps, more empty slogans about recovery. Yet every time a tent is cleared or a user is jailed, the problem simply moves, like a mirage on the horizon, never closer to being solved. The desert doesn't judge, it doesn't care who you are, but it does reveal truth. In this city built on illusion, the desert strips away everything fake, until only one question remains: who survives when the show ends? For many in Vegas, survival isn't about luck anymore, it's about endurance. But endurance has limits, and when those limits are crossed, what remains isn't just a social crisis, it's a moral one. Because what kind of city spends millions lighting up the sky while its people burn below it? But the greatest tragedy isn't the heat or the addiction, it's the silence that follows. And that silence leads us to the final chapter of this story, where the question is no longer how Vegas fell, but whether it can ever rise again. Las Vegas has always lived by a single rule: the house always wins. But what happens when the house starts losing its soul? The truth is, this city isn't dying because people stopped visiting. It's dying because it stopped caring. Vegas once sold dreams, now it rents illusions. It was built by ordinary workers chasing hope. Cooks, dealers, waitresses, veterans, bartenders, people who believed that hard work could buy a better life under the desert sun. Today, those same people are being priced out, fenced out, and pushed out of the paradise they created. Beneath the glow of the Strip lies an unspoken hierarchy: the tourists at the top, the corporations in the middle, and everyone else buried underneath. You see it in the way hotel staff are cut while CEOs collect bonuses. You see it in the way police sweep tents at dawn while casino owners host champagne galas at night. You see it in the silence, the kind that settles over a city pretending everything is fine. Economists call it systemic imbalance. Sociologists call it urban decay. But locals have simpler words for it: a broken promise. Because Vegas promised a fair game and broke it. The cards are now stacked not only against the gambler, but against the worker, the renter, and even the dream itself. The same greed that turned blackjack into a math experiment has turned daily life into survival mode. This is the final gamble, not at a roulette table, but for the city's own future. Every decision to raise prices, every dollar diverted from housing to fireworks, every time an official calls a cleanup instead of a reform, the city bets against its own people. And no city can win that way forever. One viewer wrote, "Greed destroys everything and everyone." It wasn't hyperbole. Greed has made Las Vegas forget its greatest trick, humanity. When the service workers who built this empire are sleeping in cars, when veterans die in tunnels beneath billion-dollar resorts, when children grow up thinking the flashing lights mean safety, that's not success. That's collapse disguised as glamour. Yet, for all its darkness, there's still one thing Vegas hasn't lost completely: resilience. Every volunteer handing out water, every local demanding rent control, every casino worker showing up for another shift, they're all proof that compassion hasn't been entirely priced out. The soul of Vegas may be battered, but it's not gone. Not yet. Maybe salvation doesn't start with billion-dollar projects or celebrity residencies. Maybe it starts with something simpler: remembering why this city was built. Vegas was never just about luck. It was about second chances, about people who had nothing finding a way to make something of themselves. That spirit still flickers, faint but real, beneath the neon noise. But if that flame is to survive, Vegas must make a choice. Keep feeding the illusion until nothing remains but empty hotels and broken lives, or finally confront the truth that a city built on dreams cannot survive by selling nightmares. The Strip will always shine. The question is whether anyone will still believe in what it represents. Because a city can recover from debt, from drought, even from disaster, but not from indifference. Las Vegas stands at a crossroads: rebirth or self-destruction. The same greed that powered its rise is now daring it to collapse. And if the city doesn't change course, the glitter will fade, the tourists will move on, and all that will be left are the echoes of what used to be called the American dream. This isn't just a warning for Nevada, it's a mirror for America. When profit outruns purpose, when entertainment replaces empathy, when we let greed define who wins and who loses, we all become part of the losing hand. So, can Las Vegas be saved? That depends on whether we can still tell the difference between success and survival. What do you think? Is this just another slump in Sin City's endless cycle? Or is it the beginning of its final gamble?